Welcome to bar exam essay class, call of the question. This is a quick video that's going to discuss how to attack the foundational part of writing a bar exam essay, which is analyzing the call of the question. Before I get into that, I just wanted to let you know what I consider the basic steps of answering a bar exam question. You can see them in front of you here. You want to review and analyze the call of the question, skim the fact pattern with the call in mind, read the call of the question again and determine the major topics. Then you slowly read through the fact pattern and create your essay outline under each major topic heading. And finally, you write your answer. And so, as I said earlier, we're going to talk about analyzing the call of the question. Now, the call of the question is important because if you evaluate it carefully, you'll be able to glean a large percentage of what the examiners are looking for in your response. Usually, as you'll see from the examples, usually this is the case. Now, if you make this quick analysis of the call of the question your first step as you write your practice essays, this will ingrain it into your essay answering routine, and then you won't forget to do it on the exam itself. So, got 4 examples for you to show how to analyze the call of the question. All right, first one, I'll just read it. If Greasy Spoon brings an action in trespass against Donald for his use of the assigned parking spaces, is Greasy Spoon likely to prevail? Discuss. Okay, so you know something to do with trespass is happening. That's a tort. It's an intentional tort. So you want to recall those elements for trespass, and then when you do skim the fact pattern, you want to make sure you see those elements there. And if you don't see an element, if one's missing or if it's a little ambiguous as to whether the element is satisfied, obviously note that because that's something you're going to need to discuss in your essay. And then notice that the call says, is Greasy Spoon likely to prevail? So this means, as I said earlier, there's going to probably be some unsatisfied elements. Or if not unsatisfied elements, maybe there's an affirmative defense that's available. Make sure you spot those as you're going through the fact pattern. Second example. What ethical violations, if any, has Jane committed? Discuss. Answer according to your state and ABA authorities. All right, so we know Jane's a lawyer. We know that she's probably will have engaged in some questionable conduct, whether she meant to or not. And we know that there's probably going to be 1 or 2 distinctions between your state's ethical rules and the ABA authorities. Now, obviously, if your state has adopted the ABA rules, you probably wouldn't get this sort of question, but a lot of states have not adopted them verbatim, so these kinds of questions crop up. But you really don't know much else. So just kind of think what are sort of the major issues tested on ethics questions, sleeping with your client, stealing money, maybe conflict of interest, those sorts of things. Usually 1 or more of those will crop up. Third example. What causes of action might John's mother reasonably assert against Big Biz? What defenses can Big Biz reasonably raise? And what is the likely outcome on each? Discuss. Okay, so not a ton to go on here, but it sounds like John got hurt by a corporation. Sounds like he's probably a minor if his mother's going to be asserting the causes of action. Maybe not, though. And likely to be a torts question. When there's a business involved, it's usually negligence, strict liability, or products liability. Not mentioned on this slide. Perhaps there's some sort of attractive nuisance issue if John's a young child. Maybe he hopped a fence and fell into a pit, something like that. Also, keep in mind that when there's a company involved, oftentimes it's because an employee did something wrong or negligently, and so be on the lookout for that. Maybe a vicarious liability issue is going to come into play. Could even be some criminal issues. That's probably more of an outside possibility, but you never know. And finally, the call asks for defenses and likely outcomes. So as you're going through skimming the first time and you're coming up with your list of causes of action or claims that John's mother can assert, think to yourself, well, is something missing there? Is there not a duty maybe is if it's a negligence cause of action, is there not a breach? Maybe there's not causation. And then think of the affirmative defenses for these potential causes of action or claims against Big Biz, because you're going to need to discuss that, obviously, in order to satisfy the call of the question. If you leave any of that out, you've given an incomplete answer. And here, example 4, last example, we got a two-part call. First part, how successful will Cynthia be if she moves to exclude her statement to Jill under the 5th and/or 6th Amendments to the United States Constitution? Discuss. Part 2, can Cynthia be convicted of murder or any lesser included offense? Discuss. All right, so this is a crim law, con law, criminal procedure crossover. 5th and 6th Amendments are mentioned. So the 5th Amendment, Miranda, you want to look out for custody and interrogation, waiver of rights. You're probably going to have elements of all these things in there, some satisfied, some unsatisfied. There's probably going to be some ambiguity to it, so you want to comment on that. And as you're reading through the fact pattern, whenever Cynthia talks to Jill, pay really close attention to the details around that. 6th Amendment means right to counsel. So when did the right attach, and did it attach based on the facts given to you? And then finally, the second part, you're going to need to discuss the various elements of murder and the lesser included offenses, and whether any of those crimes are arguably satisfied by the facts given. You probably want to mention something like, well, assuming the statement is admitted, you know, here's what we can prove, and if it's not admitted, then this element might not be satisfied. Those kinds of things may or may not be present in the fact pattern, but it's something to stay alert for. Okay, so as you can see, the call of the question is a very important part of each bar exam essay and your response to the essay. You know, don't just glance at it, you know, actually really think about it for a moment or two. It can really guide you as you're reading, and if you pay attention to it, you can make sure you don't leave something out that you should be discussing, such as when it asks you to talk about affirmative defenses. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this, found it helpful. If you'd like more bar exam assistance, please head over to my blog at barexammind.com. You can sign up for the newsletter and get a free, helpful bar exam gift. Good luck on the bar exam.